All right, this is Ubaid on behalf of Electronics, and in this video, we're going to be talking about our interquartile range. Okay, so in the last video, we figured out our first and third quartile as well as our median. Using this information, you can figure out your interquartile range or IQR. Okay, so let me type that in. So this will be your IQR, which stands for interquartile range. All right, and the way this interquartile range works, or the way you would figure out your interquartile range, is by subtracting your first quarter, the median that you get in your lower half, from the median that you get in the upper half of your data. Okay, so this will be Q3 minus Q1. So let's say, for example, okay, these are our data values starting with 25, okay, 10, 5, 10, and 25. Okay, we know, well, you know what? Let's add two more values here. So let's say 35 over here. Okay, so we know over here our median. Okay, this will be, okay, 5 plus 10 divided by 2. So this will be 15 divided by 2, which comes around 7.5. Okay, and our first quartile. Okay, notice we have two numbers over here, 25 and 10. Okay, what you would need to do to figure out your first quartile, okay, you would need to figure out the median. Okay, so let's say, for example, in this case, this is 25, 10, and 5. So this will be 10 over here. This is your Q1. And this one over here, this is 25. This will be your Q3. So your upper half is 25. The median for your upper half is 25. And the median for your lower half is 10. So now that you have your Q3 and Q1, you will simply subtract. So let's say 25 minus 10, which comes around 15. This will be your IQR. Now the next step, once you know your IQR, in order for you to figure out your abnormality. Okay, what I mean by abnormality, this is your outlier. Okay, outlier. And this has to do with any information that stands out. Okay, information which doesn't fit in. Okay, so in this case, for example, if you were to add another number, let's say 350, 350 is way off all these values over here, right? So these values are near 50, and 350 is way above 50. So this is an abnormality. This is an outlier, so to speak. Okay, theoretically speaking, however, you would need to test it out. Okay, the way you would test it out, you would simply multiply your median for your Q3 by 1.5. So let's say in this case, okay, excuse me, your IQR by 1.5. So let's say in this case, this will be 15 times 1.5. Okay, so this comes around 22 and a half. So this will be 22 and a half. Okay, and you would subtract this 22 and a half from your Q1. So Q1 minus 22 and a half. And you would add this well, your IQR, okay, this number over here, okay, IQR times 1.5. You would add it to your Q3. So this is plus 22 and a half. So we know our IQR, okay, this is 15. Okay, and 15 times 1.5 is 22 and a half. So 22 and a half, you're going to subtract it from your Q1, which is 10. So this will be 10 minus 22 and a half This comes around negative 12.5. So this is negative 12 and a half. Okay, and this is Q3 plus 22 and a half. So this is Q3, so 25 plus 22 and a half. Okay, this is 47.5. So this is 47.5. All right, so now we have 12 and a half, negative 12 and a half, and 47.5. Okay, if your IQR is 15, okay, you will check if any one of these values, okay, is less than negative 12 and a half. Okay, this is the first thing. Okay, so we notice that 10 is more than negative 12 and a half, so is 35, so is 350. So this is a no. All right. Second step, you will check whether any one of these values, the values that you have, any one of these values is more than 47 and a half. Okay, now if you notice, okay, 35 is less than 47 and a half. However, 350 is more than 47 and a half. Okay, however, we're not going to count 350 because we didn't use 350 to figure out our IQR. Okay, however, if you had 350, okay, in these range of values, okay, for these values, okay, this would be your IQR, this would be your abnormality, this would be the value that would stand out. However, since we didn't use 350 to figure out our IQR, our Q3 and Q1, we're not going to use this value. Okay, so amongst these six values over here, 25, 10, 5, 10, 25, and 35, if any one of these values is more than 47 and a half, it will be an outlier. However, in this case, we don't have any value. We don't have any single value that's more than 47 and a half, as a result of which we're going to say this is a no. Okay, so this is how you figure out if there is an abnormality, if there is a value that stands out in the data or the information that you may have. So that will be it for this video. On behalf of V Electronics, this is Obey. Have yourself a great